Hello my friends, it's Lee. I wanted to do this video on symbols, symbolism, a little bit on the occult and the esoteric thereof regarding towards the symbols. And of course, if I was going to do each of these at length, they would probably be, maybe they would deserve to have half an hour or more, depending, maybe even an hour presentation just on one symbol. So I'm trying to give my own, there's some discoveries and searchings that I've found that have seemed to have been common conclusions in esoteric circles. And when we do an honest-to-goodness, heartfelt search for the truth itself, not what you want it to be, but what it is of itself in complete purest form, in this naked, honest truth of truths, in that spirit, we're looking for something, may we all be able to find it. I will give the best rendition that I can for these. I just want to see if anyone has found similar things, and also for those who have not done much studies on these things, and I won't be doing very many, just a few, but it might take a long time just to do the few, but to help those who may have may or may not have some learnings on them, and in some cases perhaps if anyone has a misunderstanding of some of them, I want to look at something in its basic form. Now, first of all, here's my little whiteboard that I'm going to be using. Yes, it's a child's apparatus, but it's going to suit my video perfectly, so I didn't want to do a video of a picture by picture on a PowerPoint for this one, but I just want to use the pen and the mouth and see me do it. So that's the style. Too bad, that's what we're going to do. Well, nonetheless, I am entering this in the spirit of truth and honesty, love, and of the genuine intention to give an accurate description, depiction of these symbols that I'm going to do, and hopefully give a clear idea, or hopefully not muddle anyone up too much. But anyway, enough of my yakking, let's get to it. The first symbol I wanted to do was the mighty cross. I'm going to draw it in this style here. It may not be perfect. I'm trying to get it good. Now, obviously we associate this with Christianity right off the bat. We think of the Romans who would, in essence, crucify criminals and make an example out of enemies of Rome and stuff like that. So people that know a bit of the story of the Christ understand that, yes, and I have a cross myself, Christ on the cross. Well, the original ultimate meaning, apart from all that, see, even if it was intended by human beings to say, okay, let's kill someone and hang them on a piece of wood or a structure, right? The fact is, this symbol is older than that, and it has to do simply, primarily, with meeting in the center. In the center is where everything meets. This is talking about the balance of everything, of a conscious, feeling entity finding balance. So, you have mind and heart finally meeting and having the perfect enlightenment, or the agreement. We can call this the Christ mind, the Christ consciousness. We can even call it the Buddha mind. We can use different words. But that is ultimately what it means. When you have the meeting of minds and the meeting of heart right in the middle. Now, that's why you will see also the symbol of a heart. Like people say the Sacred Heart of Jesus, or the original heart on the cross, or even the rose cross. You could see a rose, right? I'm just doing this very fast. Rose petals and a cross. And it is to depict that. When the heart is completely fully opened and is the teacher of mind, but at the same time, the heart's wisdom is itself the perfection of mind. And to use the Hindu proverb, the longest journey is from heart to mind, or from mind rather to heart. Take a long road to have the balance, because we can be insecure, jealous, violent, morose, all sorts of things, confused, and ignorance. Ignorance mixed with fear and pride are the main ingredients for all bad actions anyone can do, and misconceived outlooks that anyone could possibly have, and as we have had. All of us are guilty of having lifetimes of mistakes and silliness until we come, but it's all a process. So the cross indeed is meaning that. Now when we look at, sorry for a bit of wobbles, just gonna have to go with the territory for the video. When we look at a Celtic cross, this is not just a symbol of the sun, because a lot of people think that Christianity has to do with astrology. Oh, well, it just means that. It just means that it's the age of Aquarius after Pisces and this and that and the other, right? Bringing the Piscean age and all this stuff, and then the Aquarius age that was to come. Well, there's that to it, but it's a lot more than just that. Okay. The Celtic cross, the early Celts really received the message of Christianity very well before different churches made it into a very fundamental, well, I hate to say it, but a fear factory, of a fear-mongering religion. But the early Celts received spiritually the message very well because they kept the true authentic teachings of reincarnation and the cycles of understanding and the astrology very much alive before the church demonized a lot of this deeper occult esoteric knowledge. So the symbol here of a circle is representing the cycles of life. It represents the seasons. It represents people reincarnating and returning to the multidimensional worlds until mind and heart became one in the center. It's a major factor, major proponent of it. So it was done very well and very simple and very stylish at the same time. And it can be elaborated with extra designs and stuff. If anyone is familiar at all with the Golden Dawn and the magic high cross symbol thereof within it that MacGregor Mathers had quote-unquote invented with the rose cross and the Inri and then the multitude of pentagrams and the Jewish stars of David and the 22. Well, all of those things have their own secret meanings, and we can all elaborate upon them. We can all think about what they can mean. We can all come up with our own cross, for example, or any symbol for that matter. But it is to look at the original intention of what somebody meant. You see, if I want to do my own cross, maybe I would do something just for an example to make it up. Maybe I'd do a circle or here, a star here, right? You can make up your own. So people, and I'll come back to a point with saying this subtopic, but people can make their own thing and say that it means such and such. And for them, that's what it meant. So here, for example, I put the Star of David within a heart, and I've shown the sun, and I've shown high magic on the bottom, and I could go on and on. I could add wings to it, right? So I could make it very fancy, and each part I would add a layer of meaning, just as you could do. So when we have the signs and symbols, we look at what the original intention of the person who made that symbol meant to say, to depict, to portray. So any one of us could make up our own thing. Not that the cross belongs to any one person, not that a star belongs to somebody or a circle. It doesn't belong to any of us. No one is the real originator. It belongs to the mind of God, if you want to call it like this. So no one can really take credit for it. It's just when we see these things in ancient histories up until now, whether etched on stone, drawn in a book, etched upon stone, carved, made, drawn in a book, written and talked about, it's as old as time, it's as new as a newborn baby. It doesn't really matter if you understand what I'm saying here. So with that, we try to understand the deeper meaning of it, and the fact that we could, any one of us, come up with our own thing in it and have different interpretations. And of course some people have already thought, oh yeah, a lot of ways to interpret it. Of course, yes indeed. And that is indeed the very point. Because some symbols we associate, the point of my video is dealing with just what I just said. We can think about a positive and a negative towards something and say, oh, that symbol is indeed bad, that symbol is good. Is it really? Are we using it one way or the other? People could talk right of the inverted cross, upside down cross, and say, oh, it's very evil, it's satanic, right? Well, originally this symbol came about because one of Jesus Christ's prime apostles, Peter, asked, and quote-unquote demanded, he required, he made his utterance and said, "Only in this manner I wish to be crucified," was upside down, to show the backward essence of all things. And if anyone wants to study on that in his speech, there's a written history of his exact speech. Give or take a word or two, you can decide if it's very accurate or not. I believe a lot of it would be pretty much so. So someone could see this and say, "Oh, it's evil, it's the devil. It's a mockery of the cross." Perhaps it is. Perhaps some will take that and use that because it gives them an emotional fulfillment where they feel a lacking. I don't want to have to do what God says. I don't want to have to feel guilty for doing my wrongs. I'm free as a bird, I'm wild, I'm a rebel, and people want to follow something like that. That's the level that they're at. I didn't say I condone necessary actions anyone did, or you condone anything they did, or whatever the case. But the fact is, we all do things for our level of emotion and our level of mind. It is our level and perception of consciousness and the level of openness of heart that will have us do or not do anything, right? That's just a basic logic. So with this, originally it was to mean, this is the crucifixion of Peter, who was in essence crucified upside down for his reasons. He felt he was not worthy to be crucified in the same manner of his master, his rabbi Jesus. He wanted to do it a different way. He wanted to show the topsy-turvy nature of all things and how this world, it'll entice and tempt people to chase money and riches, but really you're here to do the opposite if you want to get out and have enlightenment. So for those types of reasons, I'm summarizing it, I understand. I'm thinking of a few steps ahead and other signs I want to talk about. But that was allegedly what Peter had said and what he wanted to do. And now, of course, this upside-down cross inverted is taken as a satanic thing because some people who want to be deliberate rebels against the God or the Christianity or whatever the case will take that mantle and be proud of that and show that as a symbol for them to say, here I am, and here right across upside down, because I'm sending that message, I'm giving that symbol to show others. Any symbol to show others is it's something to look at, to send a message of some kind, right? So, but again, when we look at something, anything, we see what is the intention behind it. Did anyone ever see a sideways cross? Like if we were doing it with a longer bottom, and what if we did that sideways? Some people wear that as a wrist, like a bracelet. So you see the cross would be this way and sideways. So diagonal, whatever you like, all sorts of things. But what is the original idea and the meaning of it, right? Now, I want to talk about quickly this. Pentagram or pentacle. A lot of people, when they see it, they'll immediately get a negative feeling or impression. A lot of people don't. Yes, you call it a Wiccan or even older of a, what do you want to call it, sort of a esoteric, Western druidic sort of symbol having to do with magic, Western magic. There are people that want to follow the path of cleanliness, goodness, white magic, healing with earth, something like that. And then of course you'll have those that would deal with darker things, or the idea of magic and mystical awarenesses for personal strength and power. To want personal strength and power in and of itself is not an evil thing. It depends on someone's intention to say, well, I want to do this to make me strong so that I can be stronger than another person, or I can compete and defeat somebody else. Okay, these are harmful actions because they do hurt others, and the law of karma necessitates, the law of the universe necessitates that the wrong things we do come back to those. But if someone is going to follow the dark side, they're going to see it for themselves, the ills thereof. Now, saying all that, the original pentagram is not a bad symbol at all. In fact, it is a holy symbol. It is a strong occult magic symbol. It mainly has to do with, in brief, spirit being higher and stronger and superior to the elements. Okay, earth, fire, water, and right? Earth, air, fire, water. And then you have spirit being above it. When we see, and then people have made it into a strong magic, so they will say, making a science and a mathematic out of it, and say, if I draw the symbol this way first, I'm making an incantation of something positive. If I'm going downwards first, I'm making a banishment against evils. So there's all, by saying this in short, there's all particulars to it, when in fact that's just somebody's particular style and discipline, and all it had to be was a star, or all it had to be was a 5-pointed something, or, right, it could have been like that. and mean the exact same thing. I know I'm rambling and trying to say my points fast, but I'm trying to cover a lot. I'm trying to make the video too long or too boring. So if you keep up with me, thank you very much. If not, well, there you go. If you want something more elaborate and fancy and professional, there's lots of videos out there. I'm just doing this in an honest to goodness attempt, trying to explain some of these things a little bit to my understanding of it. Well, now a lot of people who want to deliberately play a rebel, then they'll talk about, right, an upside down star. Okay, so you'll have here, and often you'll see, right, people put the goat's head or something like that, the goat of Mendes or Baphomet. Some of these things are said to have been discovered at the times of the Crusaders. This was leading back, of course, older to the time in earlier biblical times, around the time of the Near East, the Middle East, the different gods and powers that King Solomon, but not he didn't originate in him, but symbols and extra affluences towards his spiritual understanding, extra mystical awarenesses and prowesses, for good, for bad, for neutral. But this was intended maybe originally by some people to be a good thing, and then of course a negative connotation was added to it. If it was originally intended to be a bad thing, and it is in fact an evil thing, well, it's very unfortunate. If some people are going to follow it, then, well, to their to their detriment. But there you go. This is why we'll see this symbol. This is to say, in the briefest sense, that earth, hedonism, pleasures, the five senses having to do with the 3D reality, the elements, the palpable, is superior to spirit. Spirit is down and locked in the body. And now let's give praise to the elements and hedonism and these kind of things. So that's why you'll see a symbol like this to mean a reverse nature. And now in some cases, to go even further, it doesn't even mean that this is bad. Often it could have to do, if you take away maybe some of that, the goat, the goat and whatnot. I'm drawing it in a very messed up manner here. Has to do with when a spirit entity, when a soul entity decides to incarnate, or by necessity must incarnate again to the earth, then it's kind of like going back to school head first, diving into the mud, so to speak, back into 3D reality. But that itself is good if it's going to further that soul's progress, if it's going to give them the necessary incarnation, the chance to pay off a karmic debt, the general chance for learning, the general chance for being healed, for furthering their progress, like I just said. So the downward spiral, or the journey back to the earth, the return to the 3D reality, in and of itself doesn't have to be, by necessity, a bad thing. Is it a neutral thing? Is it a negative thing? Is it a positive thing? So, with the symbol that represents an inverted pentacle, to say earth superior to spirit, if someone wants to have an earthly life where they have all these delights, perhaps for them, just saying as a suggestion, perhaps for them, when they were in the spirit world, they felt cold, naked, alone, destitute, wretched, and going back into the body feels like a great relief, a great chance for pleasures and some alleviations of things, and you know, a chance to continue on with themselves. So, especially for a negative person, or a very sad person, a very angry person, this is based on fear and ignorance and pride. And all of us have been there, and all of us will continue to make mistakes. But I'm saying, someone coming from a place of a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, this 3D reality will seem like a step up for them. They're getting out of a cold hell, and maybe this will seem like a wonderful place. Whereas for others, coming back into this world is totally yucky and terrible, and we don't like it, for example. My own personal stand is, I'm iffy on this place. I don't really like it too much, but I'm trying to further my own knowledge, my own soul's path, and whomever else, and join along with others who want to find a good holy path, back to Godhead, back to the Christ consciousness. That's my own personal desire, endeavor at this time. And a lot of people feel like they want to get out of here. Some people are very happy to be here. Some people think this place is the best thing since sliced bread, kind of thing. So all of the levels of soul levels that we're on our journey, on our trip away from the God, coming back to the God, all these kind of things. So these signs and symbols, again, I'm going to repeat it, and I know it's maybe somewhat of a sloppy video and I'm saying things fast, so forgive me, but not all of them have to necessitate in every which way an evil thing. If someone does an upside down, pardon my sloppy drawing, but if someone does an upside down pentagram and puts a goat and does a 666 and yeah, evil, yeah, rebel, then they're intending it to be that that's what it is for them. For them it means that. If they draw that and show that off and give that aura and intend that and push that, then that's what they indeed mean. Whereas for someone like me, if I ever wanted to talk about a pentagram like this and did it upside down, then I would say for me, the one good thing about it would mean a necessary trip back to the 3D reality. I don't worship any devils or need the dark side or anything like that. I don't want anything like that. Personally, that's what I'm saying for me. But for all the signs and symbols, again, and as I go on with the next one and the ones after, that's exactly what we can come to understand, is the intention behind it, what each individual means to say with it, if it's used, because nowadays people talk about Freemasons and Illuminati and symbols hidden all over the place and yet in plain view, and the sign of this bank is that, and the sign of that is that, the symbol of this, and people are saying, is it negative, is it not, these guys are bad, are they thieves and cheats and monsters? Maybe some of them are all of them? Is the original symbol of what they show, is that original symbol itself bad, or have they just turned it into a bad thing and given it a bad name? These are the questions we can ask ourselves. Okay, so I will get right into that and talk about, here we go, all-seeing eye. Hope it's showing up dark enough here. Okay, part of my own quick rendition of it. All-seeing eye, add a little Egyptian twist to it, whatever you like. You can put eyelashes, whatever you like. Okay, originally it is not a bad symbol from my gatherings. If I wanted to use it, if I wanted to say God sees all, and here's an eye, just to let you know, then that doesn't have to be a bad thing, because truly I do understand in my own mystical awareness, in my own philosophy, in my own intellectual searchings, my own logic and reasoning, so on and so forth. If I was going to say God sees all, and I believe that the universe does see all, well, do I want to show it as that? Maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't. Maybe you would, maybe you wouldn't. Are some people using that? Is the original idea that, by the way, all that you do is seen? Does that bother some people? Does that not bother some people? On a personal level, it doesn't bother me at all if I know it in fact is being true. I am one such person, and you may be one such person that is aware of being seen at all times by God, by angels, whatever you want to call it, and we're comfortable with that. Doesn't bother us. We know when we're wrong, we know when we lie that we lie. We're here to develop our own conscience, to get closer to that light. Some people are not wanting to endeavor towards getting to that perfection at this time, or whatever you would like to call it. There you go. But originally this can mean a good thing, okay? It doesn't mean that it originated in Egypt and it only belongs to Egypt or Mesopotamia somewhere, or Babylon, something like that. It could be a universal symbol to represent the all-seeing nature of God. Now, of course, we can see it as on a pyramid, right? People immediately say, oh, it's evil Illuminati and stuff like that. Well, maybe it is. Maybe some people who want to take esoteric knowledge and use it in a dark way, in a black magic way, against their fellow man, maybe they like that. Maybe that's the purpose of it. Maybe others didn't use it for that purpose. I really can't say that I know for 1,000,000% certainty that this president means that, that leader meant that, a long time ago in Egypt this pharaoh intended that. We can see some leaders decided some things and some wars happened or didn't happen. Okay, and then we can say by putting pieces together, okay, probably that person isn't good, or that woman, that queen, that whoever, she wasn't good, he wasn't good, was a bad person and used that symbol and did bad things. Well, for them, maybe that is exactly the case, and they are, and they put a bad reputation to that symbol. But is the symbol itself in and of itself, God seeing all? If you take a pyramid, meaning from the early development of humanity, okay, on a basic level, and then after many incarnations, eras, epochs, slowly learning more, and everything getting quicker and shorter, and the enlightenment coming faster, and then poof, a great golden dawn within the mind, within the heart, the great Christ consciousness, the return of the Christ in the mind, in the heart. If outwardly too, great, right? But if this is what it means, after a long journey, poof, enlightenment, okay? Seeing, knowing, and then truly knowing, and as St. Paul would say in the Bible, knowing even as I am known, meaning even as my maker, my spiritual soul self, the source of me, the God of gods, even as that God of God knows me and has always known me in every even secret thought and even every secret fault that I myself am not aware of, right? We can say that all to ourselves. that now I know even as I have been known. So that can be an enlightenment in this matter. So the all-seeing eye does not have to necessitate evil, it does not necessitate a bad Illuminati group trying to do this and that. But it could. There could be bad factions, bad bloodlines who follow dark things and the devil, and they're very insecure, they're very jealous, they're very competitive. They don't like sharing. They think that powers are for them and not for others. Okay, if there are individuals like that, and Earth has shown that there have been in history leading up till now, well, if that's their intention, they're saying, haha, we're up here, you guys are down there, suckers, you're nothing. If that's the way they think, and they use that symbol, and they put it on a dollar bill, and it was intended as a bad thing, or as a mockery, as a laughing at people, well then that's how they intended it for them, that's what it will be. And in pop culture nowadays, when we see it, we immediately associate, oh, Illuminati, evil, this and that. A real Illuminati is not a bad person. A real Illuminati, if you want to use that name, it doesn't really matter. A person searching for enlightenment, a bodhisattva, someone trying to endeavor towards the Christ mind, is not a bad person. Have there been infiltrations and mockeries and usurpings of signs and symbols and intentions and entering of churches and different things, and wrongs have been done? Of course there has. Of course there has been. So we have to understand that the person's nature, the person's intention, each particular group, warring factions within a group. There have been good and bad Catholics. There have been good and bad Muslims. There have been good and bad Buddhists. There have been good and bad Wiccans and Druids. Whatever you want to say, we have to understand that. The symbol itself doesn't have to mean anything bad. We also see in Mesopotamia an ancient symbol having to do with the eye. We're talking about the evil eye and the warding off of the evil eye. Okay. Now, I have a nephew. My own brother, of course, is as I am. My blood brother is of mixed European ancestry. He married an Iraqi woman. Unfortunately, they had a divorce, but such as it is. Anyway, my nephew is a half Caucasian, mixture European ancestry and Iraqi. And I remember that on his mother's side, and they had put this as a necklace on him when he was a baby. I thought it was very cute because it meant to protect a person from the evil eye and to say if any bad spirits or demons watch me, to keep it at bay. So when we can look, and you can search it for yourself, when we look at, excuse me, and indeed anything I say, don't take my word for it. You can look for yourself. There you go. Validate it for you whether or not. Look into your own soul how you want something to mean or not. If someone else has it, are you going to jump to a conclusion or suspend it or feel the aura of it? Ask yourself what you're going to do. How do you read it? How do you interpret it? Okay? So what I'm saying is, from my own gatherings, it could be with a pyramid or a hand, or it could be all sorts of things. It could be on a bird. Okay? Many cultures, many eras spanning the globe have had a very fast bird, pardon me for a quick picture, sideways here. But again, representing the Eye of Horus, many different ways to represent the same thing. You yourself can use an eye or two eyes and make your very own signs and symbols. They can create it and say, I intend it to be this, to me it means this, and the sign and the symbol itself will not be a bad thing. Okay? So of course this is, it sounds elementary what I'm saying, but indeed that's just for people to understand when they see something, to look at, and I'm not an expert in anything, believe me, but I'm saying to go into something and to begin an honest search without just jumping to an immediate conclusion, to find out what really did it mean, apart from how someone is fronting it or displaying it now. We can try and look into it like this. Okay. Now, I want to talk about this symbol. Okay, the Ouroboros. Now, that's coming from the Greek self-devourer, tail devourer, devourer of its own tail. Indeed, it is a snake or a dragon devouring itself. This has to do with an interpretation of, or a symbolism of perpetual nature, eternal nature, cyclic nature. So every person can even be likened to this very symbol right here, meaning to say every end is a new beginning, as the symbol is often quoted as being, and to say that even as it's like saying, indeed, universally and eternally, we're digesting ourselves into something new. We are suffering, like in a body, for example, like we are now, incarnate in a body, but it is for a bigger purpose. So being under the yoke of mortality and suffering a lifetime and many lifetimes, but it is for the soul development. So some pains and some pleasures, but for their overall purpose. Now, take it on a slightly deeper sense just for a quick minute. If you put the planet in here, planet Earth, a very fast drawing of it, okay? Some had talked about this symbol meaning of you being under the perpetual cycles of reincarnation and karma, the wheel of karma, and only when finding enlightenment or the Christ consciousness could you escape and go into different, bigger cycles and different realities and higher things rather than just repeat. But even the getting out itself could be in an even bigger Ouroboros, so to say. So there are people, mathematicians, Greek philosophers and mathematicians had tried to prove that the spiral symbol was the best symbol in the universe to try and depict how the nature of the universe really is. Because it does work in cycles, but it has to do with spirals in the amount of not being stuck on one wheel, but rather part of something ever bigger and ever bigger. And this being the very nature of the universe, right? People can look at the Pythagorean theorem and all this sort of things and sort of see how that works out. Okay. Again, it's for each of us to... Again, I could do a few more. I'm going to try and keep it short. I could have done a 2-hour presentation, PowerPoint, but whatever. I just wanted to do this deliberately, spur of the moment, and if it's a little sloppy, so be it. Put up with it as it will. I want to feel approachable to people, or like I'm your friend more so than some teacher trying to dictate. I'm not. We are all teachers. We are all students. We all have great insights. We all have a lot of folly. So I want to do something, anyway, just saying that, I want to do something in this friendly, fun manner just for the sake of doing it. I wish I had a bigger whiteboard, but there we go. Anyway, let's just enjoy it as it is. I want to talk about the Yin Yang. This symbol is well known to many people. I'm going to do it like this. Pardon me for taking a second to draw it, but everybody pretty much knows what this is. Now this is going to be done, of course, in sort of the Chinese style of showing the black and white in the circles. I'm doing it quick, I know. I don't have a paint fill-in quick art way of doing it. So you have to pardon me if it's a little sloppy, but this is, of course, to also represent what we just talked about in the Ouroboros in a similar manner of eternal nature, of having complementary opposites yet being one, of having dualistic polarities and yet being one. So you have a little bit of dark in every light, a little bit of light in every dark, and chasing each other, the feminine and the masculine balanced out, night and day balancing out, all things to show indeed the balance. This is the same symbol, if you want to take it that way, as the cross, or as anything that's talking about a balanced nature of mind and heart. Another great symbol for the universe, of course, is this also. This symbol is not just found, of course, in Asiatic, like Chinese cultures and stuff like that, in Asiatic cultures, but the spiral, or the chasing of the two whales, or call it many ways we want, is found in other places as well. We think of, I'm doing this wrong, we think of in the Celtic version of it, there's also eternal nature, right? The cauldron, the eternal cauldron, or the eye or the heart, spiraling and turning within itself, ever creating like a Pandora's box. So it is to depict the same thing of an eternal dance, the infinity dance, the eternal changing and swooshing, and discoveries and rediscoveries and new ways of saying the same things and different ways of saying new things, and all sorts of things in between. So this is our dance. So as a symbol, it can mean that. Now again, if someone wanted to have use it as a negative connotation or representation thereof, or affronting, then they could do it. They could say, oh, for me it's such and such. But anyway, again, like with the earlier points, we're talking about the symbol itself doesn't belong to anybody. Anyone can mean something different with what they want. But originally, when we find it, a symbol like this, if it's etched in stone in the Celtic lands, originally pretty much seems to suggest and say that the Druids wanted to, or the seers, couldn't call them different names, whatever we like. The mystics, the philosophers, wanted to represent the eternal nature of the universe and use a symbol like that to say so. Because we like to have visual effects, we like sound. People learn best by sight and sound. Well, there you go. Rather than just words or something like that, or reading a book or hearing someone read a book. Symbols do represent things. Now it's interesting that we look at many different temples and ruins and monoliths and megaliths and this, that and the other. Castles, underground tunnel, passageways, mausoleums, or whatever you like, pyramids, whatever you like. And we find similar things, many different cultures spanning the globe. And yet we often find they talk about the same things. They're trying to depict the same things. It's not for accident. People talk about nature and human nature, but do we know what that nature is? Who does it belong to? Is it an accident? Or is it purposeful and is part of an isness? Is it part of the mind of God and the heart of the God? Is it part of something else? When we really want to look at the nature of something, and then when we start to see the similarities, because everybody is so much more similar than we are different. We have the right to try and show we're different. Right? We talk about capitalism and each person's to each their own and choose their own path, but we are much more similar than we are different. We can do things in our different ways and styles, of course, as we have been doing for long thousands of years, or eternity for that matter. But it's to see the similarities are eternal. How do you say it? Certain things, such as love and fear, light and dark, are eternal isnesses. And when you think about the nature of them, then you find out that they really are. And that's a very big baffling thing. Just like thinking of time and space and the vastness within those, how incredible it really is. It ends up making you think of eternity more so than anything that is finite. You have infinite showing itself within the finite, and you always have finite expressing itself looking for the infinite. But even those little dances and cycles and circles exist within the now, the is, the great infinity, the great eternity. So, different subtopics, but when we think of any symbol, it could be a circle like that. It could be, I can make up a symbol right now. Let's say I do that, take a triangle like that, and I take a loop like that, okay? And I say, okay, it means the earth and the infinity dance and the enlightenment levels, and I could add all sorts of things to it, and you could do whatever you like. But now the main conclusion of it all is to say, for all of this, does it not represent something very dear to the heart, very dear to the mind? We're not trying to say the same things that we've always been saying. Humans having the same themes, the same moods, the same thoughts, the same wishes and desires that we've ever had. The soul, apart from the human life, the soul entity trying to express and discover and rediscover itself. We're all looking for the great now, the great universe, the great mind of God, the great source of things, the life of life thereof, the life of all life, the meaning of meaning, the purpose of purposes. And here we are, still trying to learn, still trying to express it, still in our follies, still in our triumphs. And anyways, I just want to make a quick video, ended up being a little long, but to talk about these things. And there could be many more. There's a few that I'm going to just not do after all on my little reminder sheet, but I don't want to make the video too long. But for anyone to look into something, because it's very easy when we like to be led by someone else, or take someone's word, or have second or third hand knowledge, or not have an authority source say something. But it's also very important for us to look for it for ourselves, look into the matter, into the heart of anything. And if you want to find out the truth of something, if you go into something with a deliberate intention or with a motive, and it's like if you're looking for something, you might find it. If you want this to be something positive, it could be and will be for you. If you want it to be negative, it could be and will be for you. Like if you look for racism or sexism or different biases, you'll find them if you look for them and you want them. Oh, I desire to find them, I'm going to find them, and then you will find them. They will be there. Some individuals will be like that. You may be like that, I may be like that. It's like we play very funny games with ourselves, saying, oh, I wanted to be able to do something and justify it. Yeah, I knew I was wrong. I knew life sucked. I knew it was negative. And then we do that. But on the other hand, we do the positive thing as well. I knew there was something more to that sign and symbol than just that. I knew that that group of persons had to be a little deeper and better than just that. I heard this from someone, and I'm going to believe that. Do I want to find out for sure? People often like to be lazy in spirituality or lazy in philosophy and not really want to find out for themselves, really. That's why some of the greatest teachings of the Buddha was to say, doubt everything I say, you yourself must find it for yourself. Prove that it's true or not. Any real shaman, any real mystic would say the same thing. Find for yourself that it is true or not. Find your own powers. Find the justice. Find out why being good is superior to being evil, and know the reason why. Know why the balance is better than the imbalance. But you can't just hear it unless you appreciated it. How are we going to appreciate something? We got to experience it. We got to find out for certainty. Different between humongous differences between knowledge of something and a belief in something. I believe in that religion because my parents handed it down to me, and that's what my culture does. I believe in this because they said it in school. This, that, and the other, that, and this. We've all been guilty of these things. We've all been victimized of these things. But when we become our own mature adults, whoever is really mature among us, it's up for debate. I think we're all a little bit children at heart. But the fact is, if we really want to know, careful what we ask for, because we can't find it. The rabbit hole can be very deep. But then things can be a lot more marvelous than ever we would have dared to know. Because to go into, to peel the layers off something, to know it in its naked truth, to see it for what it is, to know it even as it is known by the God or the universe, or in its own primordial state, eternal state even, or whatever, the core of something, then it's been disarmed. It has less, any fear, any denial, any aggression of it has been pacified. Even a very dark thing, because it doesn't mean that, oh, that dark thing after all was good, but it means now that I see this dark symbol, this dark thing, this and that, for what it is, and I said, oh, it's bent on an insecurity, bent on a fear, bent on an ignorance, and I know for a fact that that's what it is. Now, unto me, it has no power. So say that for yourself. Now that you've gone deeper and looked at something, now it has less power over you, or less affronting in the immediate get-go, because now you have a deeper knowledge of it. And even if the thing itself ended up being bad after all, well, now you know individuals who would go to that, gravitate to that, represent that, follow that, you know why they do that. Is their own insecurities and their own ignorances. But always to be humble and say, well, I am not all that different. I can be guilty of fears and insecurities as well. So we end up getting an ever bigger appreciation, ever bigger understanding in the heart and in the mind. And then we can say, well, now I know why you're like that. Now I know why individuals are doing something like this. Now I can say to myself, I appreciate it bigger and better. And before I jump to conclusions next time, I'll try and think more on the nature of the origins of it. And realize, even as the Buddha said, or any other great teacher, that the natures of anyone is potentially available to all of us. The very worst thing, the very greatest thing, is potentially available to all of us. The worst thing that we see someone do, we potentially had the ability to do that also. The greatest thing someone did, the most lovely thing, we had the innate potential to do that also. So where do we gravitate? Do we want to go like the upwards pointing pentagram, pentacle, and have spirit over matter and get out and go into the higher things? Or are we going to go into the strengthening of the 3D reality, or what do we perceive as a momentary strength that gives us a lot of satisfaction? Well, here we are on the earth, regardless of what we believe or think we believe, and we're in a mortal body. We have inclinations to search for bigger things. Our heart looks for bigger things. Our mind searches for bigger things. And there you go. See where you stand. I'll be quiet now because I've talked enough. The video's long enough. But that's just my thing for the very few symbols that I've shown, and indeed very few. I'm not an expert in any of them. But look into them if you like to get more knowledge about it. Look at other ones. And if that sparks your learning into different paths, because I'm always trying to provoke people. not that I'm anyone to do so, but I'm always trying to provoke people into going deeper into something and finding out for themselves what it's really about, even as I'm trying to continue my own searching of things. There you go. Blessed be, peace be with you, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, Mother, Daughter, Holy Earth, all these things and in between. I wish you the best, and I hope you'll have a very wonderful time in your development, and well, we'll talk soon. Watch my videos if you like. If not, that's fine. And We'll catch you soon. Bye.